Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a literary masterpiece that I believe is criminally underrated. A novel that beautifully captures the heart-wrenching clashes of a rapidly changing world. Elizabeth Gaskell's North and South. If you think Victorian literature is just about stuffy drawing rooms and fainting heroines, get ready to have your mind changed. North and South is so much more than a simple love story. It's a powerful social commentary, a tale of two Englands colliding, and at its center is one of literature's most compelling heroines, Margaret Hale. Our story begins with Margaret, a proud, intelligent, and compassionate young woman raised in the idyllic pastoral south of England. Her world is one of genteel poverty, intellectual pursuits, and established social graces. She's deeply attached to her home in Helstone, a place that represents tranquility, tradition, and natural beauty. But her life is abruptly turned upside down when her father, a clergyman, experiences a crisis of faith. He decides he can no longer serve the Church of England and uproots the entire family, moving them far away to the industrial north. Their destination is Milton, a fictional city based on Manchester, the heart of the Industrial Revolution. And what a shock it is. Milton is everything, Helstone is not. It's loud, dirty, and chaotic. The air is thick with cotton fluff and smoke from the factory chimneys. Here, it's not about social pedigree. It's about industry, capital, and the relentless drive for profit. For Margaret, it feels like stepping onto a different planet. She's initially repulsed by the city's harshness, the perceived lack of refinement in its people, and the brutal realities of industrial life. And the isere, in this grimy dynamic new world that she meets John Thornton. John Thornton is the embodiment of Milton. He's a self-made man, a tough, ambitious, and powerful cotton mill owner. He started with nothing and has clawed his way up through sheer force of will and hard work. He's a master, respected and feared in equal measure. To Margaret, he initially seems coarse, arrogant, and utterly consumed by his business. She judges him for his lack of classical education and his seemingly callous attitude towards his workers. She sees him as the face of an oppressive system that chews up human lives for profit. Thornton, in turn, is equally baffled by Margaret. He's captivated by her grace and pride, but he sees her as haughty, idealistic, and completely ignorant of the real world. He finds her southern sensibilities impractical and her interference in his business affairs infuriating. He can't understand why she sympathizes with the striking workers, whom he views as ungrateful and short-sighted. Their first few encounters are a series of sparks, fleeing a brilliant, tense clash of values, personalities, and entire worldviews. She represents the pastoral, traditional South. He represents the industrial, modern North. But this is where Gaskell's genius truly shines. North and South is not a story of simple opposition. It's a story about the slow, difficult, and ultimately beautiful process of understanding. As Margaret spends more time in Milton, she begins to see beyond the smoke and the grime. She befriends factory workers like Nicholas Higgins and his dying daughter, Bessie. Through Tim, she gains a first-hand understanding of their suffering, their resilience, and their profound humanity. She sees the desperation that fuels their strikes and the courage it takes to survive in such a harsh environment. Her compassion deepens, and her black and white view of the world begins to dissolve into shades of gray. She starts to see the strength and honesty in the people of Milton, a vitality that was absent in her sleepy southern village. Simultaneously, John Thornton is undergoing his own transformation, largely because of Margaret. Her criticisms, though they sting, force him to confront the human cost of his industry. He's drawn to her unwavering moral compass and her genuine compassion. While he may not agree with her, he can't dismiss her. He starts to see his workers not just as hands, but as individuals with lives and families. He begins to implement changes in his mill, seeking better relationships and safer conditions. Not just out of pragmatism, but because Margaret has opened his eyes to a more humane way of being a master. He's learning that strength isn't just about power, but also about responsibility and empathy. The novel is packed with drama. There are strikes that turn violent, false accusations that threaten reputations, family tragedies, and heart-wrenching misunderstandings that keep our two protagonists apart. There's a particularly powerful scene where Margaret physically shields Thornton from an angry mob, an act that saves him but compromises her own social standing. This one moment perfectly encapsulates their complex relationship and instinctive need to protect each other, even when they stand on opposite sides of a conflict. Through all this turmoil, their initial antagonism slowly, painstakingly, blossoms into a deep and profound respect. And from that respect, love begins to grow. It's not a sudden, dramatic passion, but a slow burn, built on challenging each other, learning from each other, and ultimately changing for each other. They bridge the gap between their two worlds, not by abandoning their own principles, but by expanding their perspectives to include the others. The resolution of North and South is incredibly satisfying. After a series of personal and financial hardships that bring both Margaret and Thornton to their lowest points, they finally find their way back to each other. By the end, they are equals. Margaret has inherited a fortune, making her an industrialist in her own right, and Thornton has learned the value of compassion. They come together not as a southern lady and a northern master, but as two whole people who have integrated the best of both worlds. Their union symbolizes a hopeful vision for England, a future where the industry and progress of the North can be tempered by the compassion and humanity of the South. So, if you're looking for a novel with a strong, complex heroine, a compelling, slow-burn romance, and a fascinating look at the social upheaval of the Industrial Revolution, you absolutely must read North and South. It's a story that feels just as relevant today, reminding us of the importance of bridging divides, seeking understanding, and finding the humanity in those who seem most different from us. Thank you so much for watching. How about you read North and South? What are your thoughts on Margaret and Thornton? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into classic literature. See you next time.